Away from the COP Climate Summit, the Nigerians and Diaspora Organization, Europe, have for the past weeks been engulfed in a crisis that has seen some of its members leave the organization. The crisis created doubt on whether the organization's annual general meeting will hold in Greece. But last weekend, the annual general meeting did hold and new leaders were elected. But even with the emergence of new leaders, a faction of the organization insisted needs to set the record straight. Joining us to discuss this is Chairman Emeritus NIDO Switzerland and Liechtenstein and a former chairmanship candidate NIDO Europe, Johnson Odibo. Mr. Odibo, thank you for joining us on the news this hour. It's a very complicated story to understand from here, but perhaps you can tell us briefly, if you can, specific actions that led to the dissolution of the Obasikola-led Central Executive Committee and how you think the new leadership now can prevent similar issues from arising in the future.
Thank you very much for having me on your TVC, and thanks to our viewers in Nigeria and across the globe. Now, before I answer your question, let me quickly run you down the background leading to the current crisis. From the 8th of November, NIDO UK South actually filed a case in court against the headquarters of NIDO Europe, praying the court to place an injunction on conducting an election in an effort to strike a reasonable balance. The judge, however, ruled that while indeed the injunctions could have been placed, it is not necessary. Just a second. I have to put on my video. Yeah, can you see me now? So it is indeed not necessary because this could ultimately nullify the outcome of the elections if held anyway. So the transition team did not hold the conventional elections at the AGM. We understand the merits of the grievances which is caused by the recklessness of the dissolved board, and we intend to make peace with the UK South chapter. Our talks are ongoing anyway. And the second point which I also want to stress out here is that the NIDO Europe of Obasikola-led CEC was dissolved at the constitutionally convened EGM on the 26th of October. And this remains dissolved despite the pretense otherwise and the brave face. A caretaker committee led by Alhaji Issa Abdullahi of Switzerland took charge till Saturday the 9th of November, when a properly convened and correct AGM resolved that they henceforth be the 5-man transition committee. Now the AGM, to your question on the AGM in Greece, the Greece Athens gathering was, at best, I could describe that as an act of resistance by the sacked executive of Obasikola and a handful of their followers who couldn't cancel their tickets, and their hotel bookings. Now, the question is, where does NIDO Europe go from here? The leadership of the legally constituted NIDO Europe has hit the ground running, and Alhaji Abdullahi's team is recognized as the directors at the UK Company House, which is the equivalent of the CAC in Nigeria. Okay, and they are tasked to reunite everybody, every NIDO family, before conducting any reasonable elections. Now, what is the new dispensation going forward? The transition team will roll out reforms, plans, very shortly, to enable other professionals in the diaspora best key into diaspora vantage points to benefit homeland. You will recall that there was also news on the foundation, NIDO Foundation, which was in the news. You interviewed some of our colleagues here on this same station. The foundation, the current administration has frozen all operations of the NIDO Foundation in Nigeria to avoid further financial mismanagement.
Indeed.
So these are the key points I just want to let you know for now. So you'll be asked here.
Interesting. But quickly, how do you think the transition committee, as it is currently constituted, can address the grievances of the UK South chapter? You talked about reuniting the NIDO family. What measures can be undertaken to achieve that?
Like I said, talks are already ongoing between the NIDO UK South chapter and other NIDO factions to really bring them together. The goal is actually to get everybody on board so that we can come up with a credible election. Don't forget that part of the issue that really caused this is actually the whole election malpractices by Obasikola and his gang. When people are leaving the office, they just find a way to bring in cronies to cover their tracks. And Obasikola was actually wanting Harold Ogunfemi to be the next chairman, even though Harold, the NIDO UK South, was not even qualified to be on the ballot. Can you imagine that? He wasn't even qualified to be on the ballot. From the NIDO Constitution, if you go to section 23.4, it clearly stipulates that for you to run for Continental Office Chair, you must have been a chapter executive or a chapter committee member or member of a committee within the chapter, that's UK South. Harold Ogunfe was none of this. So that, but Obasikola insisted on trying to make him chair. And this is actually what caused the issue, the grievances in NIDO UK South. That's why they filed for the claim they didn't want the election to take place.
All right.
You know, can you imagine in July that Harold Ogunfemi buying food for Obasikola in a restaurant, displaying with so much money to play around, even before elections were even announced by the end of July. So this is really the background of the issue, that he or Obasikola conducting elections. I wouldn't use the word illegal, that's for the court to decide, right. You know, but again, that is really the background of the situation. It's such a shame, you know, actually, that people have to go the extra mile, flaunt the Constitution they are supposed to protect.
Dr. Debo.
You know, yes, thank you.
I'm afraid we've completely run out of time. Interesting development. We're following it closely from here, and we hope that all these issues can be resolved. Chairman Emeritus, NIDO Europe, Dr. Johnson Odibo, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone, for having me.
And coming up.